Hello again, everybody. Thanks for joining us here on another episode of Cowboys Overtime here on StarTelegram.com. I am Fort Worth Star Telegram and / Dallas Cowboys backup punter Mac Engel. He is Mr. Clarence E. Hill Jr., noted Texas alum, and the soon to be recipient of $20 from me. However, I lost a bet recently to Clarence because on this show a few weeks ago, I bet him that the University of Texas would not make the NCAA men's basketball tournament, which begins actually tonight in the first 4 games in Dayton, Ohio. Texas got in; they're a 7th seed, so I owe Clarence $20.
Run me my money. Run me my money.
Well, you're not helping me out. You're not making this any easier because I texted you last night. I texted him last night. Do you have Venmo?
You know,
Everybody has Venmo.
No, black people don't have Venmo. They have Cash App. I mean, this is 2 Americas. I don't know why you don't know this.
I didn't know this.
White people have Venmo. Black people have Cash App. Okay,
is Venmo a white people thing?
Yes, it's a
okay. Thing. I didn't know that. Well, here's the killer. So
no, actually, I have Venmo. It's got hacked several times.
Has it really?
Yeah, and so, but I use Cash App, and I use Zelle. Zelle is faster; it goes right to your bank account. Everybody has Zelle that's connected to their bank account. If you have a bank account, you have Zelle.
You're the reason, so you don't remember this. You're the reason I signed up for Zelle last year. I was paying you for tickets that you got me to Texas football game.
But you don't have it should be connected to your account.
It is, and now it wants me to update and all this other crap. And I'm like, every time I try to update it, it gives me this little whatever box that I hit it, and then it doesn't go through. And that's why. So I was trying to send you $20 last night. And that's why I was like, well, he's got to have Venmo by now.
No Venmo.
But I didn't realize. Do they not allow black people to have Venmo?
I mean, it's just like black people shop at Ross, rather than Target. I mean, it's just a cultural thing. It's a 2 Americas thing. I don't know. I can't. I can't tell you. Okay. I like Target. I'm just kidding. I'm over exaggerating a little bit, Candy, with the Target thing because everybody goes to Target. But
Candy has okay.
But my daughter's like, you have to get Zelle. Zelle's fast. It goes right into my account immediately. Don't do Cash App on Texas Day.
Okay.
Or whatever else. But yes.
I've got a little reporter's notebook. I'm here writing this down. 2 Americas, Venmo, Zelle, black, white. This is very, very enlightening, and I'm sure a lot of people who are watching right now had no idea about this.
No.
Okay, before we get into, we're going to talk about the NCAA tournament later because I love college basketball. But before that, we have good news regarding the Dallas Cowboys, the all-in Dallas Cowboys. According to Clarence Hill's fine reporting, the Cowboys, who have no money to spend, most valuable franchise in North American sports, is broke. But
against the cap.
Totally different. But, we always joke, they're always broke.
It's like Trump is a billionaire, but doesn't have he don't have liquid assets, okay?
That's right.
It's liquid. It's about being liquid. Liquidity.
That's right. That's my favorite thing. I was trying to explain to my daughter this the other night about money and stuff like that. I'm like, well, honey, if you go out and get that money, it's going to cost you money. And she doesn't, that math, the reality of that weird math, but when you get to be an adult about accessing money and how it costs money and you'd be penalized and all these different things and where you have it comes with a cost. So that's one of the fun things that she's being exposed to now. But we have great news to the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys and Dak Prescott, their quarterback, they're working together. Team. It's all part of team, Clarence. I don't know about you, but for the last several years, it seems to me to be the overriding narrative and story with the Dallas Cowboys is the quarterback's contract. And I'm sick of it. I'm over it. I'm bored by it. But please indulge me why the Cowboys working with Dak on this contract is somehow good for the team.
Well, it's good for the team in the sense that the goal is to get an extension. And so the idea that the two sides had odds, and Dak wants this, they want that, and they're at an impasse. When they did the contract adjustment, which they have a right to do as part of his contract to get money back against the cap, they added some void years, and which means that Dak had to allow them to add void years. So they're conversating. They're having discussions to add the void years to maximize this simple adjustment that they did on Sunday, Monday to get $4 million in cap room. So just from the optics of them working together and Dak allowing them to do that, because they could have done a simple adjustment, but it would not have gotten the same result. And so the fact that they're working together is a sign that they're working together. And I text Stephen Jones and some other people, and they said we're still working toward a long-term deal. And the fact that they're talking and having conversations, even as far as clearing money to sign other players, even though they were only going to sign guys at the minimum, is a sign. We're looking for signs. We're looking for signs of life here. For the Cowboys.
Well, I think so explain to me this. When I hear about quarterbacks working with a team to restructure a contract or whatever else, it usually means he's working in cahoots with them to try to sign guys. And the example that I immediately go to, my brain does, and I know there have been others, but the one that always jumps off the page to me was Tom Brady in New England. Is this in that category, Clarence?
Well, no, I think it's different. And a lot of times, much of that is ado about nothing because, and just like this, it's on paper, it's much ado about nothing because people think that when teams like earlier this week, it was Patrick Mahomes, adjusted his contract and cleared $21 million of the cap room. He didn't take any less money. They just move the money around. It's just moving how you pay it out. Okay.
Yep.
And so even with Tom Brady stuff, the media was slow on the uptake on adjusting the contract. Oh, he helped the team out. He didn't lose any money. Okay.
No,
and I know you're trying to say he took less money on the initial contract.
No.
That's two different things. But most of the time with adjustment, they're not losing them. Like Dak is not losing any money. The only difference here is that he's allowed them to change the contract with some void years put on the back end. Again, the difference is that they're talking. They're showing progress. They're working together, which is the ultimate goal of working together to get a deal, working together so they can manage the cap to sign CD and sign Michael Parsons. I know everybody's going crazy about the Cowboys cap situation. It doesn't make any sense that a team that makes more money than God allows, the richest franchise in the world, is cap strapped.
So let me ask you this, because I remember one time a couple of seasons ago, they had to rework the contract of I think it was their backup center, and I thought to clear cap space.
Well, no, again, it's sometimes it's reported as we working is really just a simple adjustment that are already built into the deals. Most of these contracts already have adjustments built in the deal where you can turn signing a base and a signing bonus. You give it up front, and how it looks on the cap, how it looks accounting wise is different. And you.
Hang on. What I'm trying to, Clarence, when you've got a team, they're all rich. They all are. I don't care if it's the Patriots, Bengals, Lions, whatever else. All of those teams have the money to get to the cap. All of them. My question to you is this an indictment of how they have managed the salary structures of their roster, the fact that they are over it again, and they had to do this to get $4 million?
Well, I mean, it's. I don't know if it's an indictment. It's how they want to spend the money. The Saints every year have $80 million over the cap, and all of a sudden they make adjustment, they cut people, and they're under the cap. You can do it, but it's again, you're living on borrowed time. At some point, you got to pay due. It's like a credit card debt, and you're gonna have to pay due. And for the Cowboys, when the Cowboys signed Dak Prescott to that deal in 2021, it was always with the understanding that they were going to adjust the deal going into this year because this is the year they had the biggest cap figure. Yep. They had low cap figures early in the contract because of the short contract. It's 4 years. Most of these contracts are 7, 8, 10 years, whatever Patrick Mahomes is, which allows you to move money around and move it out and balance it across the lifetime of the contract. With a 4-year deal, it's one of the greatest deals ever.
For the player.
Yes, for a player, for sure. Yep. That's what I'm talking about. It's certainly better on paper than Patrick Mahomes' deal, even though Patrick Mahomes got $500 million. I mean, it's a better deal. It's one of the best deals in sports because he has all the leverage. He's going to get all of his money. It won't be a situation where he doesn't get his money. Everybody talks about the guaranteed money. Well, Derek didn't get $160 million guaranteed, but he's seeing all $160 million.
To me, that's the win. If you're in the NFL, that's the win for the player. If you get all of it, you realize all of it, because none of them do.
And most quarterbacks do. I mean, they don't. If you're good, they get. You're gonna see the end of your contract because people don't want to go into quarterback purgatory. What you see what's happening around the league with that 2022 class. There's no guarantee. But the bottom line is the Cowboys had low cap numbers earlier in Dak's career, or earlier when Dak signed the deal. Which I think that's the biggest indictment. They didn't do enough then when they had Dak on low numbers. Even going back to when he was on a rookie deal, they didn't do enough then to put a win on the field. But this understanding of that the money was going to come due and it's going to be tight against the cap coming in this year, that was understood in 2021.
Well,
and then no one saw, even back then though, no one saw CD coming down the pike and is going to need a top receiver money. No one saw Micah coming down the pike is going to want to be the highest paid player in football and all this other stuff. So it's a conundrum. But the Cowboys, even next year, is going to be even worse. I mean, people don't understand this year's cap. It's going to be tight over next year, depending on what they do with Dak and what they do with CD and some other guys. So get ready. It's not a 1 year thing for the Cowboys.
Well, we've got one guy to talk about this week that you predicted on this show a couple weeks ago. That former first round pick linebacker Leighton Vander Esch would retire, and it does force us to ask the question. Now he was released and then he retired officially yesterday because of injuries related to his neck. Spent 6 years in the NFL. Good player. Another release this week was Dallas Cowboys wide receiver Michael Gallup. You and I both talked about that even early during the season, that he never really came back from his ankle injury or his Achilles injury that he suffered 2 years ago. Just was never the same, and he never found a home this season. So Gallup is gone. Leighton Vander Esch, you brought it up. What if? And you can do this with a lot of guys. And my question to you is, he came in for some teams, he was off their board,
right?
In that because of the neck injuries that he had suffered at Boise State. Cowboys took a chance, and in his rookie season, he was outstanding. I mean, he looked like the guy he was going to be there for 8, 9, 10 years. And then the injuries started to happen, serious injuries, not just, an ankle or a knee, not that those aren't serious, but we're talking neck stuff. And eventually that is what forced him to retire. Clarence, to me, it's not so much a what if was it a bad pick? I don't think it was. But do you ask yourself, when it comes to evaluating a guy like this, was it a bad pick because of injuries? Or do you look at it, Clarence, and man, if that guy had been hurt, we're looking at a hell of a career.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the conundrum. And I would say that we knew back in October that he was going to retire. I mean, when he suffered the neck injury, we knew back in October. And so, it finally happened on Monday. But in hindsight, it was a gamble. I mean, there were teams that didn't have him on the board. And everybody talking about bad luck. Well, you picked the player that had red flags.
They always do.
You picked the player.
They love injured guys.
But you picked the player that had red flags. And so we can, certainly we like what he did when he was on the field. We like his work ethic. We like, the type of team guy, good guy he was, and everything else he brought to the table. But he had red flags coming in, and for a first round pick, it says 6 years, but you got maybe 4 years out of him, really 4.5 years out of him.
You're right.
When you look at the starts and
games
where
played.
it was, games played. So is that what you are looking for when you pick someone in the first round? I think you want a little longer career. Let me
back it up one more. Let me back it up one more as we kind of kick this idea around, because you said it. There were red flags. Well, they picked Jalen Smith, and there were red flags. And I know there has been a lot.
And they picked Sean Lee, and there were red flags, and he had injury. I mean, every time the Cowboys had such bad luck with linebackers. All the linebackers they picked had red flags.
Yep, they're all hurt. And when you look at some of these guys, but specifically as it relates to Jalen Smith, throw Sean Lee in there because he had injuries at Penn State, and Leighton Vander Esch. I'm one of the guys who looked at Jalen Smith, who was a really good college player, and then he tore his knee up in his final college game. And thank God he had the NCAA insurance policy, so he still got a lot of money. He falls from the first round to the second round. I don't think he would have ever been much more than he was, which was pretty good, even if he had stayed healthy. That's my feeling.
I would watch him. He had dropped foot and everything else. He had
even before the injury, Clarence, I just look at him and being around him a little bit and talking to him, I don't think he would have ever been much more than he was, even had he remained healthy.
I disagree. He
think he'd been better?
He was considered a top. I'm talking about. If
he's
talking about the college injury or the pro injury?
No, the college one.
No. He was considered a top 5 pick.
Who cares?
I understand that, but he had speed, he had range, he had everything. He was a shell of his former self. And
I,
I'm just telling you, he was supposed to be special, very
well,
special.
there's a lot of guys who were supposed to be very special. I mean, look at the quarterback draft class from a couple years ago. They're
I
all
understand that, but
gone.
I understand that, but to say that you don't think injuries impacted his ability,
It impacted his ability. I'm not.
it impacted his pro career. It impacted his upside. I mean, I watched him. He had drop foot. He basically had a red shirt year in the NFL.
Yep.
He had a drop foot. I mean, he couldn't move laterally anymore. It certainly impacted, but yeah, but that's part of when you take guys with injury histories and take a chance on them, they're going to overcome the injury, and you're going to be the smartest guy in the room because they took him in the second round when he had a first round talent. These are the outcomes. These are the possible outcomes, and again, getting back to
Go back to Leighton Vander Esch.
Vander Esch. I mean that's part of the outcome. He was built like a great linebacker should be built. Size, speed, everything, range, work ethic was like a 6-man football, and he could run like the wind. But that neck injury, he was living on borrowed time, and once he hurt it, had the surgery and had to get a flap put back in it. He probably should have retired then. He was really taking a chance playing as long as he did with that neck. I mean, he had spinal stenosis, basically. That's what Michael Irvin had, which actually forced Michael Irvin to retire.
Didn't force me to retire. I got spinal stenosis.
Well,
you know what I mean?
You're not playing football with
playing basketball, totally different.
And Trent Williams throwing you into people and everything else. So
I still give, of all the things I've seen, and you've seen more than I have, a lot of crazy things in football. When I saw Trent Williams pick up a guy, a linebacker, not a defensive back, not a punter, not a kicker, a linebacker, pick him up like he was this bottle cap and toss him into another NFL player. I'm like, some dudes are just built differently. In defense of the Cowboys, Stephen Jones, Will McClay, and all those guys, I thought it was a good pick. I still think it was a good pick, just given the length of careers, the fact that most of these guys don't. I still think it was a good pick. Agree or disagree?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good pick. It could have been a better pick. Again, you look at the guy, you look what he did, and you wonder again, what if? What if he doesn't get hurt? What does he have that injury? How good could he have been?
Nope. All true. Okay.
And you just going back to Jalen, the year he and Jalen played together, both made the Pro Bowl, you thought, oh, that's the future. They're going to be like, the 49ers linebacker, when they have the two linebackers that are anchors of defense. And there were some people dreaming that this could be a special defense, special tandem going forward. And neither lived up to expectations.
No, you know what it reminded me? It reminded me of, Clarence, the Cowboys back in, I think, 2011. They had Bruce Carter, another guy who was like kind of a red flag guy out of North Carolina, and they had Sean Lee. And there was a window of time in there. I remember Chris Collins was saying this on Sunday Night Football. We're like, man, the Cowboys are set at linebacker for years. Bruce Carter got hurt, never really panned out. Sean Lee was really good, couldn't stay on the field. Cowboys have the same thing 8-9 years later with Jalen Smith and Leighton Vander Esch, and it doesn't work out because that's the way it goes. Okay, we're going to go to one more topic here before we take a break, and that is the Dallas Cowboys have officially lost one of maybe the very best players in the history of their franchise. Left tackle Tyron Smith, who was released earlier this offseason, has signed a contract with the New York Jets. They've lost other players. I know this is a big loss, especially considering the contract that he signed for with the Jets. I don't hate the fact that they let him go. I hate the fact that I don't think they have a plan for what now. I don't think they've had a plan for what now. I don't think Tyron's as good as Tyron has been when he's played. He's an older guy and he can't stay healthy. I don't think that's going to change. And I certainly don't think it's going to change with the Jets. But my thought with it is, Clarence, who's going to replace? Replace this guy?
I mean, that's why you drafted Tyler Smith 2 years ago. So you have an option. You have an ace in the hole. Even though Tyler Smith may be an elite guard, he can be a very good tackle. He's going to be, Hall of Fame worthy like Tyron Smith. Tyler is he going to be Hall of Fame worthy left tackle like Tyron Smith? I don't know. And that's the conundrum that the Cowboys are facing this offseason. But just getting back to Tyron just for a minute. I mean, last season was his best season in about 5 years. Okay,
easily. He was great.
And he's been hurt, missed at least 3 games every year since 2015. And even though he had his best year in 5 years. He still missed 4 games last year, and so do you bet that what he did last year was an aberration? Was it an outlier? Or is he going to, at his age, going to continue to put together those type of seasons?
What do you think?
I think it was a one-off. I think that you look at him, and I just watched him in the Cowboys having to not practice him during the week. Basically, it said, you don't practice during the week, we're just getting you to the game.
Yep.
And I don't, again, just on, I don't know if other teams are going to have that same patience. Hopefully they will to manage him. But you're going into a situation in New York, you have to learn a new offense, you got to learn you get chemistry with your teammates. It's certainly not the same as in Dallas, and certainly you have the New York Texans. But the deal he signed was not that exorbitant. No. You look at the numbers and it says $20 million, but it's up to $20 million. It's really a 1-year deal for $6.5 million. Yeah. And if he plays as much as he played last year, it could be up to $12 million with incentives. And so that's the gamble they're taking. Obviously, if he does some other things and plays 90% of the snaps, which he didn't do, and they get to the playoffs, he can get up to that $20 million range. But so it was a manageable deal. It just tells you, again, going back to the Cowboys, how broke the Cowboys are, because they couldn't even guarantee a left tackle coming off his best season in 5 years, $6 million. It tells you what they're trying to spend at these positions, and so yeah.
I got the feeling, this is my feeling, I don't think they wanted him back. I think they feel like they got away with one last season at the number that they did, and I think their feeling is he's not going to be healthy anymore. That we're not going to be able to count on him. And even if if they had said, we'll give you 1 year, we'll give you the same deal. If his agent had come to the Cowboys and said, let's do a 1 year, $20 million max, but more likely a 6.5, that's what it is. I don't think they were going to do it. Do you?
I don't think they would have done it either, because to me, if I'm the agent, I'm bringing the deal back to the Cowboys because there's no tax in Texas. There's a huge state tax. I mean, so it's not even the same money. I mean, you're going to and you don't have to uproot your family. So I would certainly bring it back. And I'm sure most likely they let them know that we're not going that far. So certainly at the end of the day, the Cowboys did not want to bring him back.
And there's one other point that I have learned the hard way about this, covering Major League Baseball, National Hockey League, NBA, and NFL. None of them, the players, not the agents, none of them pay attention to that state income tax until it's too late. None of them. They just see that number and they don't factor in what a killer the taxes are in California and specifically in New York. All right, we got more to talk about here on Cowboys Overtime, but first, a word from our great friends at Window Nation.
Window Nation, the star of window replacement and proud partner of the Dallas Cowboys, can help you fill the house this season with savings. Buy 2 windows, get 2 free, and make no interest payments for 60 months, 5 full years. Fill your house for a customized authentic Dallas Cowboys jersey while supplies last. You could even help fill the Cowboys house and win tickets to a game. Visit windownation.com/Cowboys now for details. Call 866-95-NATION. Window Nation, proud partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
All right. Thank you very much, Window Nation. Still not sure how you're still with us, given how bad the Dallas Cowboys are. But be that as it may, Clarence, I'm going to put you in charge. You're Jerry Jones, not Steven, not Will McClay. You're not smart enough to be Charlotte. Neither am I. How do you salvage this roster? Now, as you reported yesterday, the Dallas Cowboys have won this offseason by signing a running back. Backup Rico Dowdle ran like for 400 yards last season. That's exciting. Got a kicker. Got a punter. Okay, fix it. Fix it. You fix it.
Let's look at a couple of things. Right now, the Cowboys roster is not as talented as it was at the end of the season.
True.
Right?
True.
Can we say that?
We say that a lot this time.
But
okay,
when you look at the guys that they lost, I think the biggest loss is is Tyron Smith, of course.
Tyron
Smith
gone.
But everybody, gone. but the other guys are replaceable, aren't they? I mean, it makes
Michael Gallup for sure.
They lost two. Yes, Eric Kendricks is better than Mike. They signed a linebacker. He's going to play the middle. He's better than Leighton Vander Esch. He's been better than Leighton Vander Esch.
Can he stay healthy?
He's had 8 straight seasons of 100 tackles. He's healthy. He's older, but he's been productive and he knows Zimmer's defense.
They need a year. They don't need 5. They
Yeah,
need
we're talking about going to this year, next year. I don't mean, and then you lost 2 backup defensive linemen, 3 backup defensive linemen, really.
So you don't think losing Dorrance Armstrong is a significant loss?
Huh?
You don't think losing Dorrance Armstrong is a significant loss?
Significant in that he's a rotational guy who's important to your rotation, not significant as him as a player. I mean, you would think that Sam Williams, who they drafted the 2nd round, could elevate to give you what Dorrance lost, what you lost in Dorrance. From an athletic standpoint, he's more athletic.
Oh, he's a better player.
They drafted a defensive end last year, Fihoko, who they think has a chance to be a good player. So they're going to let the young guys play. Chauncey Golston, those guys, they have some guys on the roster that, given opportunities, maybe can replace some of the production from those guys. But, they didn't lose any, as Jerry used to say, blue players. They didn't lose any all-pros also. They lost some depth guys. You look at Dante Fowler, and again, you're talking about Dorrance Armstrong, the defensive end, but they can replace those guys.
Fowler was done.
You got to understand that they're also getting back, as I go into my Jerry mode. Hey, what about the free agent signing? Can we consider DeMarvion Overshawn an addition to the roster since he didn't play last year?
No, because he was a rookie. You don't know what he was going to be. And here's my complaint. Here, hang on, just tell me. Hang on. Here's my concern.
What about Trevon Diggs? Should we consider him an addition?
Give me that one.
Since he didn't play last year.
Okay, was cornerback a problem last year? You said it last season. Said it last season. They were deeper at corner than they were at offensive line, and they were. So, I mean, God, Diggs' replacement was an NFL MVP candidate or Defensive Player of the Year candidate. That's ridiculous. Here's my concern about the Dorrance Armstrong, Sam Williams thing. Dorrance Armstrong might have been a nice rotational plug-in guy. He was a pro. He was a veteran. He was a pro. He knew what to do, and he wasn't a problem. Sam Williams is another classic Cowboy risk. More talented? Absolutely. More skilled? 100%. Bigger upside? By miles. Can you trust him? No way. You can't. You can't. And that's going to take at least a year of nothing from Sam Williams, nothing, which he has not had, before you can sit there and say that was a good move, because everything this guy's done off the field so far would suggest he doesn't get it. Now he might.
Too fast.
Drives too fast when but he's driving
slow. Progress. He got his rookie year got arrested going for 120. Last year only got arrested for going 80 in the 40. I
I love that.
That's progress. I mean,
so next year it's going to be
that's a sign of maturity. Okay.
Really? So this time it's going to be doing like 40 in a school zone during drop off and pickup.
But again, at some point, because of the Cowboys cap situation, and what they're lending to, they like the guys they've drafted. They have to go with the young guys, go with the drafted guys, because they're trying to pay Dak, CD, and Micah. Okay, and
no, they got Diggs coming up.
Well, Diggs already been paid.
He got his deal. He got his
deal. They're trying to pay Dak, CD, and they paid Diggs, and you're trying to pay Dak, CD,
you got Micah coming up.
Yes,
Micah's going to get $85 billion.
Yes, and Micah and CD are going to get top of the market deals.
You're going to be paying 5 guys. Isn't that what? But don't most NFL teams do that? There's like 4 or 5 guys who get all the money.
Do that, but that's why you have to trust your drafting. That's why you have to try to cherry pick, in free agency. You just wish the Cowboys would have done more when they had Dak and when they had low cap numbers for Dak.
You think they can get to 12-5 again in the next season?
I think the schedule is much tougher, but I think they get to the playoffs. I mean, you look at the teams around them, and yes, the Giants have done more, and Washington's done more. Has Washington done enough to surpass the Cowboys? I don't think so. Because the Cowboys still have the best quarterback in the division. And they still have the best receiver in the division. The Giants aren't
better than Dallas.
No, I'm saying they're not. And the Eagles made a lot of moves last year. They weren't, at the end of the year, weren't better than the Cowboys. And so
I'm thinking Philly might have been a flash in the pan. No, it was good. It was a hell of a flash. They damn near won a Super Bowl. But I'm not buying that one. I mean,
I think the whole division takes a step back towards Washington this year.
That's an interesting observation, because it does seem, I keep thinking, because of the ownership change, Washington is going to start making pop. I mean, they were homecoming twice a year for NFC East teams. Right. And I just think that's getting ready to end. Go ahead.
But the division is not what the Cowboys are judging themselves by. Not what fans are judging themselves by. It's about getting to the Super Bowl. And
Super Bowl.
Yeah, the Super Bowl. And
dude,
the 49ers.
Divisional round game.
49ers, come on.
No.
We're going to move the envelope. It was a division round game. No one's going to be happy. Stop it. Let's be honest about it. Let's
Well,
be
there's a
honest
good
about
chance they
something.
can win the Super Bowl and nobody's going to be happy. But
Exactly.
I want to see them just get to a conference championship.
I understand that, but if they don't get there, and you know, they still haven't got the Super Bowl since 1995. It's still going to be the drought. I mean, it's still going to be the drought. Same drought.
I just want to see a conference championship game. That's
Same
all I
drought.
care about. Okay, let's move on. The NCAA basketball tournaments, men and women's, start this week all over these United States. The state of Texas has 7 participants. Let me see if I can do this off the top of my head. This is in the men's tournament. Houston is a 1 seed. Texas Tech is a 6. Texas is a 7. A&M, I think, is a 7.
They're 9.
9, that's right. TCU is a 9.
They're a 9.
Texas Tech is a 6.
You already did Tech, yeah.
Baylor, what's
Baylor's
Baylor?
a 3.
Baylor's a 3, and I'm missing one more. Did I say Texas? Texas is blah, blah, blah.
It's another small school, I guess, in the state. I saw you tweet
They didn't.
this out
No, it was.
yesterday.
I know it wasn't. Damn it! I should know. Anyways, doesn't matter. Texas. Anyways, my prediction is the Big 12 is not going to have any teams that get to the Final Four. I think they beat each other up. Houston can't score. The only team in the Big 12 that I think they can get to the Final Four is Iowa State. My Jayhawks are not going to do it. TC will be lucky to get out of the first round. Baylor might. They're pretty good. Texas, I like Rodney Terry, especially more I hear about him. I know he whines after games, but I think he's a good man. Buzz Williams at A&M, he's made them, hey, it's a basketball school. But Clarence, you brought it up, and you had it there on the cover there. This is a subject very near and dear to my heart, and I'm not kidding. Is the women's basketball tournament now bigger than the men's basketball tournament? I have strong opinions about this, but I want to hear from my good friend, Mr. Clarence E. Hill Jr., before I take him to school.
Well, you're never taking me to school on
Yes,
anything.
Yes, I am.
But
on this one, I am.
Never, not at all. Let's be honest about this. Let's keep it real.
Thank you.
Okay,
and that does not make you a misogynist.
No, seriously, seriously.
Right.
Someone, I just, I was trying to text you today, but someone, it was on Twitter this morning that the women's tournament has already sold more Final Four tickets than the men, and
that's a load of crap.
Already more Final Four tickets than the men. And the bottom line is, the women have more recognizable players.
How many? Okay, time out. You're 100% right. How many can you name? Can you get to 5?
Women or men?
Women.
Oh, I definitely get to 5
name
or more.
3. I can name 3. I can name 3.
3 women? That's it?
I'm telling you, that's all. I can't. I can only name a couple dudes. I was talking about this yesterday.
Again, the bottom line, you can name more women than men. You just, first of all,
Haley Benliff, Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark.
That's 2. That's 3. That's 3 on. That's 3 right there. You got
right.
Juju.
I said that's what I can name. I can name 3. I can name
Paige Buckers, Connecticut.
Yep. Okay.
You got Juju out of AUSC. That great freshman. She is something to watch.
Okay.
Maldonado from
nope.
Southern Carolina, the 6'6" girl that pushed the girl. You said was all over TV last weekend. What were you doing?
Didn't know her name. I saw her. Didn't know her name.
Well, you should know it by now. Can you keep up?
I should. I don't. How many? I'm curious. Do you? But
I still know more of them than men. And the bottom line, the world knows Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese and those ladies more than the men. There's no 100%. Recognizable men name. If you look at, and I think it's a byproduct of the one and dones.
Yep.
Everything else, because you used to have
transfer
a build
portal,
up.
One and dones.
But I think it's more the one and done the transfer portals, because the transfer portal on guys that are going to the NBA.
But nobody.
It's the one and dones.
Okay, that's fine. You're absolutely. Go look.
Caitlin Clark has been good for 4 years, so we've had time to build up and get to know her. Okay,
yep.
Angel Reese has been good. You have a chance to get up and build them. You don't know these guys because they're gone.
They're gone, and either they're gone or they're gone. They're either going to the pros, and if that doesn't work out, they're going overseas and they're sitting at the end of the bench, or they might not even be on the floor, or they're in the G League, which nobody watches, or they're on a different team in a smaller conference or wherever. You don't know where they are anymore. College basketball star right now is the bracket,
right?
And
let me interject one thing. One other thing about college basketball is the coaches used to be the stars. Okay,
and they're not. How many coaches can you name?
The Roy Williams, the Krzyzewskis, and those guys, they were the stars. Okay, you still have your boy Bill Self, but there are no coaching stars anymore. It's like I got to go watch that coach. They're not larger. They're not. You don't have players that are larger than life. You don't have coaches that are larger than life.
You have Bill Self is left. Rick Pitino is hanging on.
Yeah, but
Jamie well, I mean, I'm just talking about a name. I mean, Rick's been in basketball since the 80s.
Yeah, but the guy in Kentucky is the one that's probably the bigger name.
Calipari. And you know the crazy part about it, Clarence? He has one national title at Kentucky.
Right. Yeah.
He has maintained Kentucky as a national premier brand. And they've been to Final Fours and all that other stuff. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, he's won one?
Just one.
You always think, he had that team that almost went undefeated and all that. Here's my rant about the women's game. And if you want to label me as a sexist or a misogynist or a pig, all true.
Yeah, you're a dad. You're a girl dad too. That's the shame.
Right, but she should be in the kitchen. Damn it, I'm kidding. So, my first job when I came to Texas, I was the TCU women's basketball media relation guy. So I was around women's basketball for 2 years. I was for a couple of years before that when I was at Kansas and then at Missouri State. And I do appreciate, and I think it is incredibly important for us as a society that we continue to dump money into women's sports. I don't care if they don't make money. It is important for women, for parents, for families, for young people, certainly for your kids, your youngest, who is a great gymnast, all of that. I think we have got to keep. Candy, you're crazy. Steve, you're crazy. Rice, Steve, one of our producers, Steve Wilson, chimed in that Rice got in the.
No, that's the women. What's the Rice women? Okay. The Rice women. They're playing. Listen, that's my team.
That's your team.
That's my team.
That's where your money's going.
They play LSU on Friday.
LSU's going down. You and I both know Rice is going to kill them.
Then they're playing at LSU. I say, think of the Red Wedding. It's going to be a bloodbath.
Ellie Van Lith, Angel Reese's career's over. Ellie Van Lith, Kim Mulkey, their season's over because Rice is going to take him down. You and I both know it. Okay, so that's my background with women's basketball, and I really do think it's important because I think one of the really misogynist arguments that I hear is that women's basketball Title IX's been bad, but no, it's not. It's been great. It's been a godsend. We needed it. But this whole idea that women's basketball has caught up to the men and it's going to explode, no, it's not. No, it's not. They are decades behind, and we can sit there. We know why. I look at my mom. My mom's 85, and I sit here and I love my mom to death. And when I sit here and I listen to her talk about when she was raised and the attitudes about girls playing sports, especially because she was tall, and the labels that came with it and the stereotypes and all that other stuff, it sucked. It was awful. So I see where it is now. I think it's great. Go play. I don't care if you're playing in front of 2 people or 200,000. It's phenomenal. But at the same time, it is not nearly at the level that the men's game is. And all you have to do is look at that bracket. That's all you got to do. Because the men's games will sell out arenas, neutral site arenas for the first 2 games, the opening round games. The women's games are still going to home site arenas of the top seeds. And they're not filling up. Until those arenas are full, I'm not talking about the Final Four or Caitlin Clark, any of that other stuff. It's great. But it's not the same. It's just not. And another reason why you know it's not the same, gamblers will tell you the best place to make money, women's college basketball, when there are lines that are actually set in WNBA, because you get favorable odds. Because the other ones, there's so much information out there and so much interest that the odds aren't going to be good for the gambler. It's great where women's basketball is. It's better than it's ever been. The players are amazing. They're so good now compared to 1996. I got in this argument with someone the other day, last year. The 1996 women's basketball dream team that played in Atlanta, best women's team ever. It's the best team I've ever seen play in any sport with my own eyes on the same floor. They were amazing. I am convinced if that team, Lisa Leslie, Cheryl Swoops, Jen Azey, and all those women went out there, they get their asses kicked by the WNBA All-Stars today because the players are that much better, in large part because of them. But to sit here and say that the popularity of the women's game is on the same level of men is stupid. They are decades away from it. It doesn't mean it's not an indictment on where it is. It's not a criticism, but it is just an accurate observation. It doesn't even compare. Thank you. I'll be here.
Are you done? Catch your breath.
Okay. A second. I'm going to rewind. I'm going to kind of re-up here. I'll keep going for another hour and a half.
First of all, the attitudes of the buying public is certainly lagging behind.
Did you say buying?
Lagging behind, yes.
No, did you say buying public or Biden public?
Buying,
Okay.
ticket buying
you're
public.
Right. Yes.
So that's where you're talking about the home arenas and all the other stuff.
Yep.
That's not the point. Okay, buying public, Candy. I said buying.
You can't. He did. Hey, shout out to our
Buying
producer,
public.
Kenny Bolton, who is paying attention.
Buying
Man.
public, the ticket buying public. When people talk about the women's game and the attention it gets and surpassing, just the better storylines. I'm sorry, they're better known players, the better teams. Okay, that's what we're talking about. Certainly, the men in the ratings. The ratings will show. It's already showing that the game between, I think, the Big Ten championship game got more ratings than any of the NCAA men's games. Okay,
Sure.
it got more ratings than the NBA game. So that's what we're talking about. How it's coming and growing and catching up to the men game. No, it's not from the ticket buying public. It's showing up in arenas. We support the men's game more than we support the women's game. That's understandable. But when you're still comparing apples to oranges, what we're talking about. And I cannot wait to get to the Final Four. I think they've done our women a disservice because they have LSU, Iowa State, I think UCLA, all in the same bracket. Caitlin Clark has to go through a murderer's row to get to the Final Four. And if she wins the title this year, and everybody says, well, you can't make her the best ever if she don't win a title, even though she's playing with, 4 other girls out of the YMCA. If she wins the title this year, there's no question about her resume. Because she has a gauntlet.
Does she have to win a title? I mean, look,
she's never won a. She's never won a.
No, I know, but I can't. I know this became like a popular thing to debate on Twitter after ESPN and former NBA player, Duke player Jay Williams said you can't be a great player unless you won a title.
Right.
And I don't buy that. I don't buy that. I mean, titles, you need a lot of things to go your way. You need good teams. Dan Marino. Does anybody sit there and say Dan Marino wasn't a great player? Anybody? Of course.
Yeah, but he would never be called the greatest ever. And the problem is that people are saying she's the greatest ever. And his point was you can't be the greatest ever without a title. Dan Marino will never be considered the greatest ever because he doesn't have a title.
No, but I think when you get into that debate, like you remember Cheryl Swoops
and she won a title.
And she was. You talk about, 4 phenomenal girls from the YMCA.
And that's what kills me about people acting like Caitlin Clark is the first woman that's went crazy.
No, I've seen them before. I mean, think about it.
But the attention is better.
Because you know why?
I think social media made a huge difference as well.
Huge. And the issue too is Cheryl Swoops is an amazing player. Amazing,
I agree.
Amazing person. Some of these women don't get their credit due what they. It's just astounding what some of these women from about 1975, 1980 on. Lynette Woodard never got the credit she deserved.
Lynette Woodard's still not getting credit because she really has the all-time scoring record, but it was AIAA or whatever it was.
It was.
And so they're not counting that. So Caitlin Clark really, she has more points than Caitlin Clark.
But I tell you
but they don't count those.
I know, and this is like the whole Pete Maravich thing, and they're different games and all that.
It's the sack thing in the NFL. They think like Harvey Martin had the Cowboys team record for sacks, but they didn't count sacks until 1981. So,
and I don't know if you saw, but the thing that when I look at Caitlin Clark, and I was talking to a buddy of mine who's a girls basketball coach, and he says, when I watch her, I want to just shake her sometimes. And I thought I knew why, and I teed him up, and I was like, why? He said she takes some of the dumbest shots I've ever seen. And I was like, well, she makes a lot of them. And that is the argument. And the reason why she's so popular, dude, when you've got someone throwing in shots from 28 feet, how do you not love that?
Right.
I mean, I remember one time, remember the old NBA player, Michael Cage? Remember him?
Yeah.
The cool Jerry curl?
Yeah, but
he led the NBA rebound.
He couldn't shoot.
Nope, but he could rebound. The day is long. It's like, nobody likes those guys. Who cares? Like, to me, I could sit here and make an argument. The greatest women's player there for a window was someone that nobody's ever heard of named Katrina McClain. Remember Katrina McClain?
Yeah.
Do you remember her? I think they finally named her a warm batter. She was a double machine at Georgia. Just a freak. And she wouldn't go to the WNBA because she made more money playing in Russia. And nobody knew. And she's really quiet. She's a really nice woman.
And she didn't get arrested for having weed at the airport or anything like that. In Russia.
Problem. That's true. Yeah, that's true. We don't talk about Brittany. That's tomorrow's segment. We talk about Brittany Griner getting her number retired. Way to go, Brittany. I'm surprised Kim didn't show up for that one.
Of course, Kim didn't show up.
I know. Don't give me stuff. I'll do that. I'll talk about that for a week. But the thing about Caitlin, it's the reason we still have Steph Curry. And the reason I brought up the Michael Cage thing, I always remember when Michael said, everybody loves the dazzling jump shot or the highlight dunk. Watching Caitlin Clark, and then go back to the NBA All-Star game, Sabrina Ionescu throwing up threes with Steph Curry and out shooting dudes. That's amazing. I don't care. You don't have to be, you could be a dog or a cat or a squirrel. I'm like, oh my God, that's amazing. So watching her throwing in pull-up jump shots in rhythm from Steph range, sign me up. I don't know who replaces that. I don't know what she's going to do the WNBA and turn the Indiana Fever into the Pacers and all this other stuff. But I think some of this stuff is still, we're a little ahead of ourselves. We're a little over our skis. This idea that the women's game is on the same level of popularity as the men's game. Why can't we celebrate where it is compared to where it was? Because where it was, I remember when I did it 20 years ago, 25 years ago, when I went to, it is nothing compared to what it was. And that to me is the celebration, as opposed to, we're ahead of the men. No, you're not. You're not. You're but you're not ahead.
Again, we're doing a circular argument, going back to where we were. And, it's just a circular thing.
Called the burrito.
Again, I think the thing, the problem is that the men's game has come down. It's not what it was. And so this has come up, and the men's game has come up. I think it's a bigger, more of a problem and more of an indictment of where the men are at this point.
But Clarence, how do you fix it?
And you don't fix it because, guys, first of all, guys should be allowed to go to pro out of high school. And guys are going pro and they're going to the G League and they're making other choices. And they're not going. And most of the guys that we see in the tournament are not household names. Still a great game because of the brackets and because of gambling, because that's what it's all about. It's about the gambling. It's about, I got a buddy going to Vegas, okay? Because they're going to go watch the Final Four. They're going to watch the first round in Vegas. They're going to gamble a lot of money. So in that respect, it's going to have a certain amount of popularity, a certain amount of interest. And you get these small teams and these last second shots. And it's just a perfect scenario.
I love it.
The tournament style play. You get upsets and everything else, and so it's fun. It's fun, but the quality of the game certainly not what it was, because I grew up in in the 80s, 90s, and we knew Jordan. I remember when Jordan and Olajuwon and Faisal Majama, and we knew those teams, we knew those players, we knew those coaches, and they were must-see TV. The men's game is not must-see TV. The women's game is must-see TV. The women's Final Four will be must-see TV.
I'll watch.
The men's game is not must-see TV. It's about what can I gamble on, who can I make money on, and all the other stuff. But there's nobody saying, I want to watch that guy play. Nobody in men's terms says, I need to watch that guy play.
Outside of the Big 12, because you watch Texas.
Yeah.
Can you name 5 guys in college basketball?
No, I can't. I would think of the center at Purdue, but he's been there 100 years. Okay. And because he's not going to be a great pro. You got the Baycock in North Carolina. He's been there 100 years.
RJ Davis.
24 years old.
So this morning,
he's older than Drea's baby daddy. Drea's baby daddy called him Unc. Okay,
so
they call him Unc.
This morning I interviewed.
You did on Twitter too. Drea's baby daddy called Baycock Unc. That's how long.
I was watching the ACC championship game the other day, and I was looking at North Carolina's players, and I'm like, those guys were in the title game against Kansas a couple years ago, and all those Kansas guys are gone.
Right,
Christian Brown's in the NBA. They're all gone, and I'm like, Baycott's still there. He's older than I am, and RJ Davis and them cats. Our producer Kenny Bolden brings up a good point. One of my favorite movies is Love and Basketball. Proves they shouldn't go to pro that quickly, she says. Here's my problem with Love and Basketball.
Hey, watch it now. Watch it now.
Here's my problem with that game. Why did he throw the last game on the driveway when he's playing one-on-one?
Because he was in love. Play me from my heart.
He wasn't a competitor.
It's love.
He wasn't a competitor.
He threw it because he wanted his woman.
He wasn't a competitor. He didn't compete. He didn't want to
lost her.
If he really loved the game,
I mean, if you watched him play, if you watched him play, he was awful. Okay,
he was terrible. Like who was worse? Was his name Omar Epps? Was that Omar Epps?
Yeah, it was Omar. He was awful.
He was awful. Wesley Snipes was terrible. Woody Harrelson was awful.
No, hey!
I'm just telling you the truth.
No, White Man Can't Do. That was a classic movie. Okay,
but he sucked.
Classic.
It sucked.
Classic basketball movie.
It was way too long.
Loved
like 5
it.
hours.
I love it.
It was almost longer than this stupid.
You can't hear Jimmy. You can't hear Jimmy.
The best basketball movie ever made is Blue Chips.
Okay.
Or Hoosiers. I might have been growing up there when they shot
Yeah,
him.
you were
Okay.
growing up real Hoosiers, yes.
Space Jam, not a bad vote.
And Candy just hit the nail on his Space Jam. Okay?
Space Jam. You know what? I've never seen it. Okay. This has gone on forever. We're both going to get fired. Like, we've run out of the space on the internet.
50 minutes? I mean, you talk
and that's
too much.
Tom. That is all your fault. Clarence will be at the NFL owners meeting in Orlando, where he's staying. Are you staying at the Breakers?
I'm staying at the Fairfield Inn,
Free breakfast.
5-star Fairfield Inn. I got to save the company some money, okay?
For all of your Cowboys coverage needs, NCAA tournament, soccer, NCAA women's basketball tournament. Check us out on StarTelegram.com. Thanks, Candy, for staying awake. He's Clarence Hill. I'm Matt Kingle. See you next week.